Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Keys to AWS Optimization, where today we'll be talking about the new billing views that you can check out in Cost Explorer. And we have Eric with us to do that. I am super excited to get into the nitty gritty of how you set up this tool, how you utilize it, and some of the best practices around that. But chat, let us know where you're coming from. Say hi. I'm excited to have any questions from you all. But to get started, we're going to do our normal kind of warm-up question we started now, which is, have you had a frugal week or a splurgy week? Eric, I'll throw it to you first. How has your week been on that?
Yeah, hi. Happy to be here. It's been a frugal week so far. I'm traveling for work, but I try to I'm mostly prioritizing work, so it's just been frugal with everything else and being very frugal with my time as well. So trying to be focused there. But yeah.
Nice. Savannah?
Less frugal for me, Steph.
What have you done?
We've had a couple of our team members in town, so have gone out to a couple work dinners. So I guess maybe frugal for me personally, but it's always nice to catch up with folks and just get to collaborate a little bit over some tacos.
Awesome. Oh, classic. Gotta go for tacos.
Yeah.
And yeah, mine has been frugal. So I feel like we're on like, I'm on a frugal side, but with work, I was in South Africa the last couple of days. I was supposed to say last week. It was I only got back yesterday, doing a fin hack with an awesome customer. So was able to kind of eat some very cool steak for not very much in South Africa, which I enjoyed. But let's get into the show. So welcome everyone to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show where we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend at AWS. My name is Steph Gooch. I'm a senior optimization architect advocate at AWS, here to help you with all your FinOps questions. Savannah?
My name is Savannah Jensen. I am a senior FinOps success manager on the optics team here at AWS. Excited to be back. Excited for a new year, new season. Eric, toss to you.
Yeah, I'm Eric Nestorovic. I'm a senior product manager in the building and cost management space for AWS. So just a bit about me real quick. I joined AWS a few years ago, and I was in EC2 for a few years, just getting my feet wet, understanding I know that's where customers end up building most of their solutions. So it was good to have that experience over there. But then the last year or so, I've since switched to the billing cost management and area. So it's been super interesting learning going from actually designing how an engineer would be using a specific tool to now actually seeing, okay, that all has very big ramifications for the organization. So trying to help our customers understand how they actually manage their costs and keep everything under check has been a super good learning experience. So yeah, excited to be here and talk more about billing views and how they can help.
Yeah, and we're excited to have you. And let's get some messages in the chat. So please let us know, where are you coming from today, guys? Say hello, say how's it going. Any questions about FinOps, then drop those in there. But let's get into some high level views. Eric, do you want to go into what Cost Explorer is?
Yeah, so just starting there. So Cost Explorer is a tool that we offer in the billing and cost management console and through the API as well, which lets you log into your account and see all of the cost management data that has been incurred by your account on AWS. So you can get that big picture view and drill down into anything specific. You can go by filter by multiple different dimensions, and it helps customers get a visual and start drilling down into what is driving their cost on AWS.
Amazing. And I mean, go ahead, Seb.
Can you talk a little bit about kind of what that looks like if you're an engineer versus what that looks like if you're a FinOps professional? I know we've probably got both personas out there in the audience. So I know the folks that I work with very familiar with the management view, but that's not what everybody's going to see.
Yeah, so the way that Cost Explorer works is that when you're a FinOps persona, you're typically looking at stuff from the top level. So you're looking at, if you log into the management account of the organization, you can see all of the cost incurred by basically every single account within your organization. You can get that big picture, big pane of glass view. However, and a lot of the engineers that leverage AWS, they operate in the member account, in the linked account world. When you're actually accessing Cost Explorer from a member account or a linked account, that account is limited to only seeing any cost and usage data that was actually incurred in that account. So that means that from a single account, you're constrained to the boundaries of your own account. So depending on which account you log into from, you have a different view of the world, basically, with Cost Explorer.
Yeah, very siloed. But I'm excited to get into this topic. But before we do, I want to check out who is watching in the audience. So in the chat, drop in. Is this your first time watching an AWS live stream? 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 for basically I live here. Just drop in that number in there to make sure that we can see some of these data. Hopefully we'll have lots of people returning or first-time viewers even, which would be exciting. Sam, this is your first time back this year, right? I've just realized. Amazing. It's good to have people back. Savannah's on. If you're new and you're watching us on LinkedIn, Savannah's done a lot of episodes with us in the past. Comes to us from Seattle. Hopefully it's not too cold. And we've got
we have sunlight today, so that's a plus.
It's getting lighter generally.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Okay, so a couple people from yes, I basically live here. Amazing. Okay, let's take this out. And we've got some people watching from Cape Town. Love seeing people from all over the world come and join. Let us know in the chat, where are you joining from? So let's get into a little bit more about these billing views. So we said we're going to talk about what this thing is and how to set it up. But Savannah, I want to throw it to you. Before we dive into them, do you want to explain? Actually, no, Eric, why don't you explain the billing views in a little bit more detail before we shift?
Yeah, so as we were saying earlier, one of the pain points we know from our customers is that typically when they build an application and the engineering manager is building an application, they usually build them spanning multiple accounts. It's not just, even though in the Cost Explorer, as we were saying, only gives you data that is related to everything that was incurred into account. The reality is business units, applications, et cetera, are typically built spanning multiple accounts on AWS. So what we've introduced is the concept of a billing view, which is basically now it's an AWS resource that controls what cost management data a specific IAM account can actually access. So now instead of being limited to only seeing your account, we've introduced a new resource type that lets you control who can actually access what data. So that unlocks actual applications and business unit owners to see cost management data spanning multiple accounts, which is actually more reflective of how they've actually built their applications on AWS. So they can get that view from a single pane of glass.
Yeah, that element of logging into so many different accounts to see your spend, such a nightmare. Go on, Sam.
The kind of like toy example that I've been using to help folks understand it is, if I'm imagining I'm Amazon, let's say I am the Kindle product and I have a production account, a test account, and a dev account, and I've got that pipeline. Billing views will help me kind of group all of those together and see it in a single pane of glass instead of having to log into production, into test, and then into development to see those costs.
Yeah, just as an admin element, I feel like I've been wanting this feature for years. I know we had a lot of chats with customers for it, and it is just something that is super simple and will help relieve also some stress. I think, because when I was a developer, we would produce a report that would do that for kind of customers of our account. So we would say, like, would add all the numbers together and give it to them, but they'd be like, when I look, it says this, and I'm like, well, you have to take into consideration this and this, and so now they can just see this kind of unified spend, which is so helpful. Sab, I want to know, from your point of view working with customers, what kind of scenarios, apart from the kind of production, would people want this new feature? Are there any kind of other situations people might be interested in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think at this point, it's incredibly common to have a lot of different business units, different projects, different kinds of workloads sharing an organization, because AWS has really made that organizational management from the kind of management account pretty simple and pretty convenient for a lot of things. If you think about like landing zones and managing your SCPs from there, we are definitely incentivized to get everything into kind of one big pot. It makes everything so much simpler, even in the billing world. If you think about how a savings plan can share across an entire organization, that's what's going to maximize the savings value for that savings plan as well. So putting everything together is definitely a big theme. If we are splitting up business units, we have a lot of customers out there who have essentially different kind of subsidiaries, possibly different acquisitions that don't overlap, don't interact with each other, and really shouldn't be seeing each other's cost data. And in the past, we only had the management view, which is everything, or the linked account view, which is, as we've mentioned, kind of siloed. So I think that's going to be the biggest one out of the gate. But that kind of pipeline and development kind of staging, test, dev piece is also something that I've seen people kind of pick up on so far.
Perfect. So let's go into, let's see who in the audience has actually tried this. So in the chat, let us know. 1, have you tried the new billing views? 1 for yes, 2 for no. I actually don't think that I've tried it yet. I think I've kind of, well, I'm saying that, Eric's laughing, but I've been in the meetings about it. I've seen like the wireframes. I've been like seen it from the start, but I have a terrible thing where I kind of wait until people are on Twitch before I do the thing. So I kind of can come in it with a fresh pair of eyes, and hopefully get some people to learn and ask questions that could be helpful. So we'll come back to this poll a little bit later and drop that in. So let's get into the demo. Should we kick off with that, Eric?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, so just want to walk you through here just like a quick scenario. In this case, just in this example, as we were saying before, I'm logged into the management account of an organization. So here you can see that this is our Cost Explorer tool, which lets you drill down into all of the different costs that you've incurred on AWS. So in this example, I'm grouping, you can see that I'm grouping the Cost Explorer report by linked account. So we're seeing that I have a list of all of the accounts, how much they incurred in the last month, for example. Now let's say I want to give, there's a business unit in this case, marketing, that owns 2 of these accounts. So the ones ending 999, 555 there. And I want to give the business unit owner of that division access to Cost Explorer so they can use this tool by themselves to drill down to all the reporting and any optimization they want to do. So for that, what we can do is essentially create a billing view for them and share it with their account so that they can access that data. So let me just walk you through that process real quick, what that looks like. So to get started, on the left navigation, you'll see under the cost management preferences, there's a new tag indicating that there's a new feature here. So if you go to preferences, you'll see that there are 4 tabs, and all the way to the right, you have billing view. So if you click into this billing view, here you just have some high-level info, how it works, etc. But what you can do is create a new view that'll represent a set of cost management data. So let's go ahead and create one real quick. While creating it, you have the option to either filter, to essentially give a filter version of your own account's data. So you can choose to filter by one of 2 things. One dimension is cost allocation tag. So if you have all of your business units tagged to a certain cost allocation tag, you can simply select that one. Or alternatively, you can select from a list of accounts. So let's do that in this example, since we have these 2 for marketing right here.
Before you do, Eric, I might throw to Savannah. Do you want to just clarify cost allocation tags? Like what makes them cost allocation tags for people?
Oh, like if they're turned on?
Yeah.
Enabled for
What do you
cost?
have to do?
Pop quiz. Pop quiz.
Love to throw a hard question.
It's like, what do you mean? Yeah, so within the billing console, obviously we have the concept of a tag within AWS. But if there's a specific tag that you'd like to use for cost allocation, so could be a business unit, could be a create date if you're really getting in the weeds, could be a project name. You can see all kinds of stuff. What you can do is go into your billing and cost management console. There is an option to enable those tags for cost allocation. As soon as you've clicked that checkbox and clicked enable, essentially what's going to happen is that tag will then flow into our billing system. You'll get a column in the cost and usage report or in data exports, depending on what you're using. It'll be available for selection in Cost Explorer, and it will be something that you can leverage here, as Eric's showing us.
And is this you only have to do it? You can only do it in the payer.
Yes.
Okay. Just want to double check. Okay, cool. So that's how you bring those in. But yeah, we're going to kick off with accounts first, right?
We can backfill now, by the way. That's something that I'm very excited about. We can backfill tags now. If you enable it, you can create a support case to AWS, and we'll look back and see where that data was before.
So if you had some naughty developers who didn't tag things, you can go and get them to retroactively do that. Perfect. Okay, so accounts, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so in this case, since we know that this organization has a handful of accounts, let's just imagine that these 2 belong to the marketing division. So I want to give the business unit leader of the marketing team access to all of the costs that are contributing, that the marketing team contributes to. So let's just create a new view. You select first which accounts data you want to be included in this view. And then let's just give it a sample name, the keys, marketing view. And then you can go ahead and simply create this resource. And now this view has been essentially created in the payer account. Up until this step, this view now is still living within this payer account. Now, if I want to give a linked account access, you have the ability to share this with any other account within your organization. So let's just walk through that real quick. The first tab right after you come in, it's this call to action, just share. So you click on share, and you'll notice this one for the beginning, just for this demo, I'll leave it here. We'll go into exactly what this means in a second, but you set the default permissions. And let's say this is actually just in my demo account, I set it up so I have this one easily accessible. Legal needs to look at all of marketing's data for whatever reason your organization.
For legal reasons, obviously.
For legal reasons, yeah, there we go. So let's say I want this account legal to be able to access this view I just created. So you select that account and then hit share. Takes a quick second because it's asynchronous, but there we go. Yeah, now we have shared account. So you see that this view, the keys marketing view that I just created, is now available. It has been shared with an account. And if you see here, you have a list of all of the accounts that it's been shared with. In this case, it's just this one ending in 6666.
So if 6 months from now, Legal 2 pops up on the scene, we can just come back in here, edit that sharing and push that way? Or is there anything special we need to do there?
No, that's correct. You just go into here, you hit edit. Legal 2 would pop up. Let's just first use finance in this example. You just update which accounts has been shared with, hit save, and there we go.
Awesome.
It's associating currently. It usually takes a second or two, and then it shows associated once it's been shared. But that takes no time usually. If I refresh now, it should have both associated. Yeah. So now both of these accounts have access to this view.
So it has to be managed centrally. There's no option for it to be spread out across to anybody else controlling this.
Right. So right now, this is a centrally managed feature. You have to log into the payer account who already has access to the universe of data of your entire organization. And then from there, you can decide how you want to define those boundaries, how you want to slice and dice which accounts can see what data. So it's all centrally managed. That lets you then propagate to each individual business unit or application owner how and what data you think they should be actually looking at for their day-to-day operations.
Perfect. Out of curiosity, chat, please let us know, do you have access to your payer account? It'd be interesting to see if many people do have access generally previously for maybe couldn't see their individual linked accounts together as spend, especially if there's finance practitioners. Just drop in a little live access or anything. I'd love to know. Some people already said yes. Pete says yes. So some people do. Okay, good. So this is going to be those FinOps personas who are accessing this, right? It's what we're going to brand them as for this today.
Right. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So
cool. Right.
yeah, now let's say I'm the owner of that account, the legal account, which we were just demonstrated that we shared this view with. So now when you log into, let me just refresh to make sure it brings all the latest views. So now I'm looking at in this case, I'm logged in as that legal account, the one ending in 6666 that we just saw on the previous screen. And I'm in Cost Explorer. Right now you'll notice that we introduced a drop down in the left navigation. So essentially what this does is it lets you select what billing view you're looking at. Essentially everything that is what was a universe before this change is called essentially what we were describing before, where you only see anything that's bounded to your account is all under the primary view today. So by default, when you log in, it's the exact same experience we had before. You're in your primary view, and this account sees linked account data for only its own linked account. Now, since we just shared a view with this account, you can drop down and they will start appearing here. This is again a demo account, so it has a lot of them. So we have this. You click on. Let me actually show that real quick. You click on CL billing views right at the bottom. If it doesn't show up in this this short list, which is your most recently accessed, so you click on CL billing views, and you'll have a list of every billing view that is available to this account. In this case, the keys marketing view is the one we just created and shared from the payer account and shared it with this linked account. So you can just select it, hit choose. And now, if you can see in Cost Explorer, we have access to cost management data that was actually not even incurred in this account. It's only for the 2 marketing accounts that we had defined in the view definition at the payer account level before.
Dan, it's very simple, which is good, which is what we want to see. And I've got some audience questions, but very quickly, when I asked, do people have access to their payer? We've got some no's and some yeses. So there's a nice mix of people. So we will be going through what happens if you don't have access to the payer and like IM roles that you need. But this would be your new view, right? So if you don't have access to the payer, this would be the viewpoint that you would have. We also had someone say, hi, everyone, which is nice. Let me take this down for a second because I've got some questions. So first question, what was the RAM role in which you used the sharing port? We're going to go over this in a minute, right?
Okay, yeah, we're going to go over to a second of what
Okay.
permissions you need to actually share with RAM. There's an additional set that usually the FinOps people, as we were saying, don't normally use RAM. It's more of a developer tool, so we'll go into the weeds of that as well.
Perfect. Okay, another question. This billing view seems very similar to the new AWS billing conductor. Savannah, you just jumped up from your screen and you saw that. Do you want to take
billing
this?
conductor mentioned? Yes, it does. I remember the first time that I saw like the new billing conductor integration with this, I blew my mind. So seeing it with no setup in even less time available for kind of a broader use case, also incredible. So excited. This is such a powerful tool.
Do you want to explain maybe a little bit of what the difference between the two things are and how they connect for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So billing conductor is essentially a custom configuration option that allows folks to add custom rates and custom line items. So upcharges, credits, etc., into our billing pipeline and create different views for their end users. The kind of user experience for those visibility pieces of the tool versus custom billing views are fairly similar, but the big difference that you have to keep in mind with billing conductor is it allows you to control what's being pushed down in terms of cost and in terms of pricing to those different billing groups that you're creating. It's something that a lot of folks in our AWS partner space use if they have a credit or a kind of service fee that they want to charge their end customers in order to keep their operations running. So it just gives you a little bit more control over how that cost data is presented.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And there's a question which is similar to this, you kind of cover it, but is this helpful for those that have to use a reseller? Oh wait, I thought it said if it is a reseller. So I guess that would depend on the reseller that you're working with, probably. And if they allow you to have this kind of access, it could be something you could ask for, but without knowing which one, we'll be able to confirm.
I would imagine there's a use case for it. It's just kind of a selection of billing conductor versus billing view based on what they want to share.
Next question. Is there a charge for billing views, Eric?
No, it's a free product we've launched that makes it, so there's no charge associated. The only charges that may be incurred are the existing Cost Explorer charges. So you know, if you enable higher granularity for your account, or if you're accessing calling get cost and usage programmatically through the API, I think there's a charge associated with those individual calls. But the billing view itself, setting it up, sharing it, and giving someone else access is completely free of charge.
PSA about it costing money for you to do the API. I feel like people don't know that. I always talk about when I was back and being a customer, and there was someone I started to notice on Cost Explorer, like I charge for Cost Explorer, and I was like, did Amazon start charging? And I was like, I don't think so.
Free.
I started to like look into it, and it turned out one of the guys was like, oh, I thought it'd be a good idea if I like reported on cost to myself every day. But when I was testing, I did it loads, and I was like, there's a fee every single time you do that. And also we have the data like right here. And he was like, oh, I didn't realize. So keep an eye out for that.
A Kerr pipeline.
Yeah, it literally send it to you and it's done. And then another question without Strife. Do I need to enable anything to get this to work? So obviously when you went into the preferences, you just kind of set it up. But is there any kind of like wait time for that? It should just be there right now, correct?
Yeah, that should just be there right now. Just the only like prerequisites at a high level are, well, you need Cost Explorer access. You need be able to have access to the payer account where you can actually set up the billing views, because that's restricted to the payer today. And then the other thing is you will have to have adopted fine-grained IAM permission controls. So yeah, I know we've already standardizing that process for any new account, but there's some legacy accounts that it may not have access from the get-go, you will have to enable fine-grained IAM permission controls.
Perfect. Okay. And then a quick question that came in. I just joined recently. Want to know, it's about cost optimization. That is one of the things we cover on the keys to AWS optimization. But today specifically, we are covering AWS billing views, which is a feature on Cost Explorer. So we're showing you how to set those up. But make sure, everybody, if you're watching on LinkedIn, you can actually give us a like, which is awesome. And if you're in any of the other channels, drop us a comment or question. But you can catch up with all the other episodes passed on things like the YouTube channel if you want to see any more about optimization. So let's continue with our demo. So we've showed everybody kind of how you enable it, how you set up a group. Shall we go into the IAM policy aspects of it? Because that is something I think people need to know about, the fine-grained elements of setting up this permissions for this tool.
Okay, let's do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So first, I just want to talk to you real quick about. So let's just talk real quick about how an AWS resource works and how you can then set IAM policies for that. So
Okay.
one of the features about the custom billing view is that it's actually treated as a resource on AWS. What that means is that it has an ARN, which stands for like that AWS resource name, which is a unique ID
Does it?
that can be used. I think.
Sorry,
It's a
I
unique
didn't
ID.
know that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah,
Don't
like
take
a
my Amazon
unique
badge
name.
away from me for not knowing that.
Now you made me second guess myself. I'll double check that right after, but I'm pretty sure
You're right.
If not, it's okay, good. But yeah, so the ARN, which you just call it for short, ARN, has essentially a unique identifier that can be used in IAM policies and permissions, and it can be referenced across the console and across your AWS environment. So what that allows us to do is that essentially now that you have this resource ARN specifically, now means that whoever has access to this resource on AWS has access to this billing and cost management data. So what exactly does that mean? So let's look at this one example. Sorry, it scrolled back up to where it should have. There we go. So here we have a sample IAM policy of what you'll need to be able to actually access this billing view. So let's say, like we did before, you created it, you shared it with an account. Now the recipient account has to set up their own IAM policies to give a specific IAM user or a specific IAM role permission to access the billing view itself. So to do that, you can create a new policy. Essentially, what you do is you give the specific actions that you want to allow that customer to take or that end user to take on the billing view. So what you do
So that's
is
just like Cost Explorer, I see, right? They're just like the traditional, I see my spend. Yeah.
Yeah, I see my spend, but the nuance here is that you add this resource condition to it. So now, instead of, I think for most of our policies, everything has been like resource star, which means it's just your account, look at everything there. Now you can get more granular and specific with who can access what data. So when you're creating your policies, you would replace this resource, which is just a sample custom name here, with the resource ARN that you get when you actually create the view. So now what you can do is whoever logs in with this policy can access Cost Explorer only for this data, the data that is contained in that resource. So then you can set up an environment where when you log into an account, you give them access to Cost Explorer, but restrict them to a very specific set of data that you have defined yourself. So then the other aspect that you'll need is these are just in order to actually list what billing views are available to you, you do need to get also set up list billing view and get billing view, which gives them permission to retrieve what is available to them. So let me just show you real quick what that actually looks like when you have an account that has permission to only access a specific billing view. So here I'm logging into, I had set up another role, which has Cost Explorer. So yeah, so here we have another role that has access. I call the role access billing view. So which only has permission to access a very specific billing view that I gave it. So when you log into Cost Explorer, this user can't even see their own account's data.
Yeah.
This account has a bunch of other shared views to it. It has no access to them. However, if they access this one specific one, which I had defined in the billing view in the IAM policy, this user can now access data for business unit marketing test and only business unit marketing test. So you can really ensure that nobody gets visibility into any more data than they actually need it, and you can have a more controlled environment.
I imagine this would really help with like end user confusion on some of this stuff too, because if you're really used to being in Cost Explorer, like Steph and I are, the concept of like flipping between these two is fairly intuitive. But if you're a new person who's never used this before and you pop into your Cost Explorer and you see only your own data, but you really want everything else, I feel like it would be kind of difficult to work out why that's happening. If we go back to like the first example where legal saw their own account and then really wanted to look at marketing, and this really just like drills it down so that they can only see what they need to see. So that's awesome.
So if I want the person, so for example, let's do the legal version. So with the legal setup we had earlier, if you guys missed it, what we did was we set up a billing view that looked at some marketing accounts, and we gave legal access to see them for legal things. How do I ensure that legal can see their own account and the marketing account? Do I have to give them the bill? Do I have to make another billing view for maybe a better question, if you specify a specific billing view for an account, how do you make sure they also see their own account if that billing view doesn't have that account in it?
Yeah, so for that you may need to go into the API, because there's one specific view that right now you don't get the ARN from the console experience. But what you would need to do is in this resource. So now what we looked at in legal here in this account, as we talked about the primary view, this also has its own billing view ARN. So there's an API called list billing views, which you can call, and it will give you a list of every billing view your account has access to. And amongst them would be the primary view. So you can grab that resource ARN, include it as a comma with a comma. This is an array, so you can put multiple resources in it. And you can just add it as this person has access to this shared billing view as well as their own primary. So you can be very targeted of what permission each person can access.
Yeah. I feel like that is something that might trip people up. So let's just like double down on that. So if you are going to roll this out across the board and start creating billing views for letting people see into other people's accounts, make sure you add this primary view for that account, right? So do that little bit of extra API work to list it out, because I feel like I could see so many scenarios where a customer emails me like, hey, I set up a billing view for my other accounts to see into, and now they can't see their own spend. So that is an important feature to make sure we go into it. We've got a couple of questions, which was one we actually just answered, which was I'm about to ask about permissions need to share bills. And then they were like, whole demo for my questions. So you're welcome. Any other questions, guys, please feel free to drop them into the chat. And we have another question, which is, can it be shared outside of my organization? So I'm assuming the billing view itself, can you let people outside? Well, maybe there's two elements to this. So if you can let someone have a sole IAM policy to let that person in on a role that you make if they're outside of your company, if you need to. But I guess, could you combine different accounts from different organizations is maybe the question they're asking, Eric.
Yeah, no, so today, the way that it's set up is it's only all within the scope of a single organization. So if you have established a security boundary, we respect that, and only when you're sharing, whoever is sharing is only able to share with linked accounts that belong to their own organization. But as you said, Steph, you always have the option to create a role that you can give someone so now you can share data with a linked account, if you need to give a third party access to your cost management data, they can log into that using that role and actually see that data for your company or for a specific business unit.
And the testing and setup methodology there too, that at least we're testing out with one of the customers that I support, is creating just a net new, completely empty shell linked account to use as basically the FinOps admin experience, sharing that view with the FinOps admin account, and then creating IAM policies there. So if you want that like extra layer of separation, even, that's an option too.
Perfect. And any other questions? Okay, one more question.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, we'll do it. This is the wordy one. If a billing view contains data from another account, does the account that it was shared to see the data from only that account. Yes, which is what we just said, unless you specify the specific permission to see their own spend. This person clearly knew. This was from earlier. I hadn't clicked on it yet, so this person knew what was going on. Sorry, Eric, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, I was going to say just that I think in the previous question, there was also an aspect of it of like, what permissions do I need to actually share? So here we looked at what permissions you need to access. I just want to also quickly touch on the whole aspect of needing RAM permissions and what permissions the FinOps admin who's setting this up would need to actually share the view. So we were looking
someone was
at
asking about that RAM. Yeah, so let's go back. Should I bring back up your share screen? Let me do that. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, briefly, I just want to talk about what you'll actually need as well to be able to share a view with someone else in your account. So far we've looked at the IAM permission that is required to actually access the view by the end user, but the sharing also has a bit of nuance to it as well. So here we have the permissions that you'll need to actually be able to both create a billing view. So these are these new actions that we've introduced. So you have to create, update, delete, etc. Then it needs a bit of access to be able to actually retrieve your own data that is going to be included in the view. But what I wanted to highlight here is the RAM permissions. So these are included in our documentation, but these are essentially all of the permissions that you'll need to be able to integrate with RAM and have the ability to share a custom billing view with another account in your organization.
What is RAM?
Yeah. So let's jump into that. Okay. So just at a very high level, RAM it's called a resource access manager. It's an existing AWS service that what it does is it lets you manage who has access to resources within your organization. So in this case, that's what we're leveraging in the background by using the resource ARN that we talked about earlier. We can tell RAM, hey, this resource that is identified by this ID can now be accessed by this account. So RAM is what in the background handles that security and permission granting for us. So right now, I just wanted to walk through real quick how RAM works. So at a high level, what we've done is we know that FinOps people are more likely to be working from the billing and cost management console. So the workflow that you saw was actually in our own billing and cost management console, and we never took you out to RAM. However, that doesn't mean that you still can't use RAM if that's how you prefer to actually go through RAM, do it yourself, use some more advanced settings, which I'll talk to in a second. But essentially, let's say I actually want to modify this share that I already created with these accounts, but I want to see what that looks like in Resource Access Manager. So you can navigate to RAM, and in the background, what this is doing is actually creating what RAM calls a resource share. So let me just show you real quick how that works. So let's say I'm going to create a new resource share. So you create a new one, you go to resources, and here you can now select billing views. This only filters by ARN, but I had it handy dandy here, copied over from the previous billing screen page. And then you can select, I want this resource. You can just select it here, and you go next. And you'll see these are the same permission that when we previously did it was like a very small text box. This is where you can actually get a little more advanced with how you want to manage the permissions. So the default that we have set up is essentially when this resource is shared with another account, the sharer has the ability to say, okay, from my account, whatever IAM policies you set up in the recipient's account, these are the most permissions that you can access when somebody is accessing this billing view with a share. So once you share it outside of the org, outside of your account, it doesn't mean that the recipient can then take any action on the billing view, like delete the billing view or something. Here you're saying when I share it, the recipient is limited to enabling one of these 8 actions, which is get information about the billing view itself and call any of the costing usage actions. So you make sure that they can't delete, they can't modify anything once they've received it.
Okay, so a question then, before you move on. This was obviously in that drop down that we saw earlier. Do you have to do this part in the process, or is there another option?
So in you do have to select which managed permission is associated with this resource share once you share it outside of the org. we provide, this is the AWS provided default, so you don't actually have to set it up. This is how
Oh, okay.
these 8 are the ones that we recommend as the standard for you need to give someone access to Cost Explorer. So by
Okay.
default, when you were in the billing and cost management console, it's just a single drop down set to one default value. Don't really bother too much with it. We've made sure that you can't hurt yourself. You're only giving access to Cost Explorer. If you want to get more advanced and creative, you can go to create a customer managed permission and handle it however you want. For most of our users, we expect this to be the set of actions that they're going to be looking to enable someone to take on a billing view when they receive it.
Right. So that in the drop down will be there for you. This is just where it comes from. So a little bit of background.
Exactly. Yeah.
I got
and then
you. I love it.
Once you go here, you can then say to share it. Actually, let's say I want to share it with an organizational unit. We know some of our customers use OUs as a way to manage their business units. So this is a pretty raw demo here, but you can essentially now select an entire OU instead of just a single account. And then when you hit next, now it would be shared with the entire organizational unit. So this is it's not something that's available natively in our billing and cost management console. This is more of the advanced use case where I really want to either modify the permissions or I need to share with an organizational unit. There is a way to get to that, but you have to go through the RAM console directly or use RAM programmatically to actually enable that sharing.
So forgive me, I just wanted to double check this kind of thing. So you're saying if you do it through the RAM, it's the equivalent of setting it up that you did in Cost Explorer, but it's just the way that you can do it to OUs or be a bit more fine.
Be a bit more granular in which permission is exactly available. If you want to, that's for more of the advanced user, but if you want to get more specific on have the ability to share with an OU or be able to change what permissions are included by default. If you want to modify the default settings, you can go into the RAM console, and from there you can just. It's really then it's more really up to you. But in the billing and cost management, Cost Explorer world, we try to streamline based on what we know the process is for the vast majority of user needs.
Yeah, I feel like we need to shout more about the OU stuff. Like that is amazing. So many times people have asked us about OUs integrating with the cost world. And so now that you can do that I feel like I'm going to start leading with that conversation. As to matter what you're going to say.
Yeah, OUs that integration is super powerful, just like Steph said. I feel like we get that a lot. And I know Billing Conductor, when you first set it up, you have the ability to import your OU structure. So it's really good to see it coming into more cost tools because that just makes a lot of things more streamlined.
Yeah. Okay, let's bring in a couple more questions or points. So we have this one. It's two-sided, basically one who is issuing, one who is receiving. So the IAM policy you have to do on both sides. Good call out. Thank you for showcasing that. And the next one is, does this work on Savings Plan Analyzer too? So from my understanding, it's only on the Cost Explorer view at the moment, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's only on the Cost Explorer. And then in addition, you can also use save reports. You can use a save report if you already have something pre-formatted with Cost Explorer. You can also apply that save report to one of these custom billing views in Cost Explorer.
Perfect. And last one, generally, where do you see customers using these shared account views? I mean, what is the business case? So Savannah slightly touched on this, but Eric, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah. So really, there's the main use case that we've seen our customers adopting billing views for is, as we were saying, is really giving a business unit owner visibility into all of the costs they contribute to. So if you have an engineering team that is looking to optimize their own costs, now you can give the engineering leader of that team, hey, now you can access all of the cost management data that all 20 of your accounts contribute to that actually make up this application. So now that's really the main use case we see is giving really decentralizing the FinOps operations and giving the people who actually contribute to the cost the ability to drill down into what is driving these costs. What can we optimize? What opportunities are there what can we make more efficient? So it really helps them with Cost Explorer dive deep into their own costs and what they contribute to without having to expose them to the entire organization's data.
Mm-hmm. If you think about like a nested use case almost, if you're a dev team that's working on like a particular part of a product, maybe you have a billing view that's only your tiny part of the world. If you are like a manager that has a like accountability to every part of that product, you could have a view that looks at all of the spend associated with that product. And if you're like a director or a portfolio manager who is looking after all of the products that are developed within this company, you could have a billing view that shows all of those products based on spend as well. So you can probably make it as complicated as you want, but yeah,
how many
just
different
like
overlapping groups. Yeah. And I guess another one that some FinOps practitioners we've spoken to don't have access to the payer account. They for some reason, for a security reason, don't have access, and so they can't see that. And so for them, this is going to be great because they can have their FinOps account and then they can enable all the spend, which is going to be super helpful for them. You still have to speak with someone to enable those properties at the organization level, but to be able to get that overall spend view is going to be perfect. And some people are agreeing with us. This is amazing and nice feature for sure. So thank you for that positive feedback. Eric, do you want to showcase anything else to the console? Was there going to be, we're going to look at cost allocation tags as well?
I can walk through that real quick, but actually I did want to demonstrate how you mentioned the FinOps case where you want to give someone access to your entire organization's data outside of the payer account. I did want to demonstrate real quick how you can go about setting that up. So again, just you navigate to the cost management preferences, go to billing view, and what you can do is when you're creating a view, as we talked before, you can essentially choose, I want to filter data by cost allocation tag, by accounts. But what you can also do is essentially create an unfiltered view. So that means grab all of my cost management data, put it in this view, and then now I can share that with someone else. So to do that, you just don't do anything. So you don't assign a filter. So in this case, I just leave this as is, don't select anything. And now I can just say this is a key unfiltered demo view.
And as new accounts are created, they'll automatically flow into that, correct?
Yes, correct. So it's the way to think of it is you start with all of your organization's data. What do you want to, you choose what to keep. But if you choose nothing, it chooses everything. It's like a select star if you're doing SQL. Like just
perfect.
Give me all.
I didn't realize that. I would have thought you had to select all and then every time add. So that's a really good feature. So the most powerful.
So it automatically gets just every time. I know some of our customers provision accounts pretty frequently. It's like you don't have to worry about that. Just give me the whole pie. So now you do create, and then now this view, just for brevity's sake, I'm not going to go into sharing, etc., because it behaves the same as what we saw before. But in this case, since I created it, I have access to it. This is the same account. We'll see need a refresh because I need to pull data again. You go.
Oh, is that because
there we go? I had
a
space or something. There we go. Yeah. This looks identical to what we just saw because it has all of the data. So, and just to like confirm my linked account, it has all 4 linked accounts that were previously showing when you looked at your own primary. So now you have a view that you can give a specific persona permission to access this and only this from a linked account. And they can actually now see that overarching view of the entire organization with Cost Explorer.
Amazing. Get them set up with this and a delegated hub, cost optimization hub access, and you're off to the races.
Yeah. Let's go into the cost allocation tag stuff. Because I think it might be useful just to kind of show that at a high level. And kind of what you were saying, we were talking a little bit about new accounts being created and how they get added. So if you have that unticked, that unfiltered version, any new accounts will come in. But if new accounts are added, there's no automation into adding them into a billing view. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. That's the only step you have to take is create that unfiltered, include the catch-all, include everything in my view, which is just don't select anything as you're creating the view. So automatically any new accounts that get added will be automatically included in that view.
But if you, for example, in our earlier example where legal had access to the 2 marketing accounts, if there was a 3rd marketing account, there's no way to automatically add that one in, is there?
Not through the accounts themselves. So there you would have to go in and manually select which account belongs to this grouping. However,
Perfect.
if you have your cost allocation tags set up correctly, you don't necessarily have to go through that pain. So let's say in this case, and apologies, this demo account does not have that many values that we can select from, but it'll do for now. So essentially, with cost allocation tags, as Savannah was telling us earlier, you can just tag, say which resources are tagged with a specific key value pair. So in this case, let's say I have this key, which is tagged.
A lot of tags.
Lots of tags, yeah. I'm a power user. Yeah, they were created by Has a lot. But I'm afraid that these probably don't have a lot of cost associated with them. So let's just try one. So what you can do is when you create a view on the top level, instead of selecting accounts, you just keep it at what the default value is, which is tags. And then here you can select which tag you want to use. Select that tag. It'll show a list of all the values available, and you can check one or, well, in this case, I don't have another choice, but you can choose as many as you want to be included in this view. So if you have these 5 tags correspond to this director level view that I want to create, you can just select those 5 tags, and all of the cost management data that has those tags will be rolled up into that view, and whoever has access to it can see it. So in this case, let's just create a view, and the rest is exactly the same what we've seen before. You just select the tag, and now any cost usage that is tagged with this value will be automatically included in this view. So Steph, to what you were saying before, that means that if as your environment grows, if you have new accounts, new resources being created, as long as they always have that tag, they will automatically be included in this view. So you don't have to go back and redefine the view and redefine the boundaries of it. So if you already have a consistent tagging policy that maps a business unit, a team to a specific tag, you can leverage that to not have to ever really go back and edit the view definition over and over again. So Building Views leverages what you might have set up already to try to streamline your experience of actually creating the view itself.
And I like that we have these 2 kind of options for if newer accounts made. So you can either do the tagged version, well, 3. If you're doing a holistic view, you can just leave everything unfiltered. If you are doing it for your groups of spend for your billing views, you can do tag, or there's that OU in the RAM. Is it RAN?
Yeah, in RAM. RAM.
Yeah, RAM. Yeah. So there's that option as well. So if you are adding, I'm assuming, if you are adding accounts to an OU, then they would get inherited in that OU that you set up.
Quick asterisk there, actually. So
okay.
No, what I demonstrated with the RAM with the OU, it's not to filter an OU, it is to share it with every account that belongs to that OU. So it wasn't to define a view that is defined to the boundary of an OU. It is actually to share this view with every account in an OU.
Oh, I see.
So
you give everything.
The RAM piece, give
Kindle to the Kindle team, everything Prime Video to the Prime Video team, etc. Like that. It makes the sharing quick.
So it's more about the sharing of the view element, not of the configuration of a view.
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so the configuration of the view still needs to be done in the first part, and then the
yes,
sharing.
The
I'm learning too, guys. I'm the voice of the customer.
We're leveraging that RAM already exists, supports a bunch of different AWS services, so we're piggybacking off that just to, if they already have all the infrastructure that lets you share a resource across different views, so across different accounts, so we're leveraging that. So I was just demonstrating how you can share it with a broader OU, so the entire business unit itself.
Cool, yeah. Question. Per my understanding, the customer who is opting in, I think, to the AWS cloud service would have the real-time business access. So the person, I'm assuming that means the person who has access to that billing view has the real-time billing access, which is correct. So yes.
However, if you are an engineer who is running resources in AWS, you do need to have billing permissions in order to view your billing data. I'm not sure which way we were interpreting that one. But
good to clarify both. And love Cost Optimization Hub and Cora. I don't know, what's Cora?
I love Cost Optimization Hub.
What's Cora?
I probably love Cora, but I don't know what it stands for.
It's too many. Someone spell that out for me. I sometimes there's too many initialisms. Or that's an acronym. So, okay, this is a long question. So bear with me as I read. Is there a way to aggregate account views and share one view? Say, share dev and staging account merged to a user and a QA and prod to someone else, or need to share multiple views for each account. So I think it's so you group those together and then you can share the view out, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's
yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah. So if you do want to have those two things together, like dev and staging, then you would create a billing view for those two connected account. So that's the thing. Oh, core is a dashboard. It's one of the CIDs.
I do love that. Yeah.
Thank you. And hi people in the chat. Okay, we're into our last 5 minutes. We still need to do our Richard summary of the episode. But Eric, anything else you want to share before we finish up?
Oh, I think we covered pretty much everything in has to do with billing views and how to create an access. So
perfect. And Sav, anything else you want to cover? Maybe any advice, maybe Sav, from your point of view, when working with large customers, how they should plan rolling this out?
Yeah. So like a lot of things, you have to be thoughtful about what the goal you're trying to achieve is and what your business structure looks like. I would, if you are a FinOps professional, kind of getting used to the functionality and doing some testing, you're going to be asked questions about it, likely, if you roll it out to folks. So would definitely recommend setting up your own linked account, sharing some sort of view to test it, just so you get the hang of the look and feel and how to direct people if they have questions. But again, like, just really focus on what you're trying to achieve and who needs to see what. And even if it helps to draw it out on a whiteboard or put it in a PowerPoint or think about it with Excel, however your brain works, figure out those groupings first would be my recommendation, and then build the functionality around the aim that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and think about how you're going to expand this. So if a new product or application comes in, what is the process for them requesting a billing view? Like, how are you going to manage the uptake of this? Like we're talking about new accounts, how are you going to make sure those are added in? What process can you put around these to ensure that people are going to be able to access the information they need and aren't going to be banging on your door asking, like, I need access to this. It's like, what are the processes you can achieve? Okay, we are time for our Richard, stick of Richard summary. So Richard listens in for the episode and then writes a summary so you can kind of get a high level view of what we were talking about. So let's share this. So episode summary, billing views has the skills to de-silo the bills. Very true. Unify those things. One-stop shop for business units to view costs. I'm just so excited people who are in business units or in kind of application owners to be able to see this now. Go and take advantage of it. Access shared for management or around console, so you can do that sharing. And there is no charge, so try it out. Yes, exactly. That is one of the best things about this. It's free, but like Savannah said, you want to make sure that you manage all these costs. That is it from us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to drop in a like, or remember, you can subscribe if you're watching us on Twitch or on YouTube. Subscribe to that channel so you don't miss anything. If you have any other follow-up questions, please feel free to email costoptimization@amazon.com. And if you want to see what else is going on the live stream for the keys, then check out community.aws live streams, keys to AWS optimization, or just Google up keys to AWS optimization, and you'll be able to find out what we have planned, which is next week. We are talking about AI with observability, talking about some funky ways in which you can use CloudWatch to analyze your data with AI. But that is it from us. Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you so much, Savannah. And we will see you all next time. Bye.